You have 5 minutes to clear your desk. That's what Martin Landry said, in front of the entire executive team. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Everyone else in that glass conference room froze like they just watched someone get shot. My name's Matt. I'm 39. I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I just got fired by my wife's father, the CEO of Synergy Tech. Like I was a damn intern who spilled coffee on a server. I stood there holding the clicker I used to run every quarterly review for the last 8 years. Martin didn't even look at me when he said it, just flicked his hand toward the door like I was a waiter who dropped a tray. Sure thing, I said. Then I calmly walked out and headed to my desk. Second floor, west side, IT and infrastructure. I'd built that department from scratch. Started with 3 people and a shared printer. Now, we had 19 staff and a full-stack data recovery system that carried their entire operation. And I still got 5 minutes. No severance, no handshake, just 5 minutes. Before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? Security didn't even look me in the eye. I recognized both guys. I used to bring them donuts during overnighters. Now they stood back while I pulled a cardboard box out from under my desk and started packing the last 8 years of my life. Mousepad, photos, external charger, that coffee mug from the first server migration in Charlotte. One by one, I dropped them in the box. My hands weren't shaking. Not yet. I made sure to grab the backup hard drive I kept taped under the desk, too. The one with every schematic, every project roadmap, every line of code and server config I'd written for Synergy Tech. If they wanted to act like I was disposable, they weren't keeping my brain with it. Then I heard footsteps. One by one, Logan, Priya, Marcus, all 19 of them. My crew, my team, the ones I stayed late with, pulled weekends with, built everything with. They stood up and followed me, silent as hell. You could hear the shock settle on the exec floor like dust. Jenna didn't show, not a text, nothing. But Amber, her best friend, now VP of Operations, stood by the elevator with her arms crossed and that little smirk she always got when she thought she'd won something. Like this was a game. I walked out first, 19 people behind me. Not one executive said a word. I was done being the quiet workhorse. But before I explain what happened next, I need to tell you how we got here. 3 weeks earlier, I was standing on the deck of the Landry family lake house, flipping ribs and brisket on a smoker I'd hauled up myself. 14 hours of prep, 4 hours of actual smoke, and not a single person even looked at the food. Martin raised his glass, standing near the stone fire pit like he was accepting an award. Another record-breaking quarter, he said, grinning like a politician. Biggest gains in Synergy Tech history. Everyone clapped, even the kids. Jenna was sitting next to Amber, both of them on white wicker chairs like they were royalty. Diane was topping off everyone's wine and pretending to care. I walked over with the brisket tray and set it down on the long patio table. No one touched it. Diane glanced at me and said, "You look like you've been working too hard, Matt. That's not attractive at your age." I smiled, tight-lipped. "Yeah, been a long couple weeks." She just shook her head. "You really should take better care of yourself if you want to keep up with Jenna's career path." Jenna didn't say a word, just sipped her wine and looked out at the water. Martin kept the show going. "Amber's been stepping up," he said, raising his glass again. "Real leadership instincts. And Jenna, your strategic thinking saved us on that last contract. You've got a CEO brain. That was rich." While he was popping champagne, I'd been in the server room at HQ rebuilding our backup architecture after a ransomware scare. 2 days of sleepless nights, patching together a solution before the East Coast servers went down. Nobody even asked how I pulled it off. Amber smiled like she'd just been crowned queen of tech. She hadn't logged more than 30 hours that week, but Martin called her the future of operations. I cracked a beer and walked back down toward the dock, away from the spotlight. I wasn't part of the show. I was support staff at my own family gathering. That's what it felt like. They didn't see me as a partner. I was just Jenna's husband, a guy with a grill and a company badge. Martin joined me a few minutes later, real casual. "You ever think about scaling back?" he asked, letting the younger blood take some lead. I stared out at the lake. "You mean Amber?" He laughed. "She's rough around the edges, but sharp. Just needs guidance. You've been doing this a while, Matt. Time to think about legacy." Legacy? That's what he called it. Like I was some aging quarterback whose arm had gone soft. Like I hadn't built the entire infrastructure of his company from the ground up. "I'll keep guiding her," I said, "but I'm not going anywhere." He clapped me on the back. "Good man." Later that night, as I was wrapping leftovers no one touched, Jenna walked by and said, "You were quiet today." I looked up. "Your mom basically told me I'm falling apart." "She didn't mean it like that." "Sure," I said. "Same way your dad didn't mean to call Amber a leader." She shrugged. "It's just family talk, Matt." But it wasn't. It was code. That whole weekend, I wasn't a husband. I was a placeholder, a checked box on a marriage resume that looked good at executive brunches. They didn't see me, and I realized then they never did. Jenna was brushing her teeth when she said it. Amber's really been stepping up. She's been putting in long hours lately. I paused mid-shirt button. "Since when?" She spat into the sink. "I don't know, last couple weeks?" That was straight up bull. Amber rolled in late half the time and left early the other half. I knew her hours. I approved her time cards. I'd been mentoring her myself. Martin's idea, of course. Just help her see how the tech works. She's a fast learner. She asks good questions. Fail-safes, admin access, server recovery, infrastructure redundancy. I thought she was actually trying to learn the system. Now I realized she was casing it. Every question had been part of a checklist, not curiosity. The next day I got the email. Subject line, client transition update from Amber Taylor to Martin Landry. But somehow she accidentally CC'd me instead of BCCing. It opened with, "Just a quick update. I've taken charge of the Morrison transition and am streamlining it ahead of schedule. Matt seems overwhelmed, so I thought I'd get ahead of it." I froze. The Morrison rebuild had been mine, start to finish. Amber missed the kickoff entirely. She was wine tasting in Napa that weekend. She hadn't touched a single line of the back end, and now she was handing in my work like it was her group project. I didn't reply, didn't call, didn't breathe for a second. I just forwarded the email to my private account, tagged it, and locked it down. Then I went right back to writing deployment scripts. That night, I didn't sleep, didn't even try. I went down to the garage, turned off the lights, and just sat there with the door cracked open, staring at my hands. I'd burned myself twice that month, rushing patches into production, blisters still healing. And for what? I kept thinking, they're not promoting her. They're replacing me. Martin had been feeding her the roles, the meetings, the access, making it look like she was stepping up. She wasn't climbing. She was being lifted. By morning, I'd gone back through my email history, started building a trail. Every time I'd trained her, every project she skipped but later owned, every meeting where she parroted something I'd said a week earlier, like it was brand new. Amber wasn't stupid. She knew enough to look competent, but she didn't have the knowledge to keep the system alive. And Martin didn't care. He just wanted someone with the last name not tied to me. At lunch, I tried to talk to Jenna. She was on a Zoom call. I waited. When she finally muted herself, I asked, "Did you know Amber's calling my rebuild her project?" She barely looked up. "What do you mean?" "She emailed your dad and said she took charge of Morrison. Said I was overwhelmed." Jenna blinked like I'd said the weather was weird. Maybe she misunderstood. "No, she didn't. She's trying to take my job. And your dad's helping her do it." She sighed. "Matt, maybe this is about the company evolving. Things are shifting. You've been under a lot of pressure." "Jesus," I muttered. "You really don't see it, do you?" "What am I supposed to say?" She snapped. "My best friend and my dad are wrong, and you're right?" "Yes," I said. "That's exactly what you're supposed to say." She went back to her meeting. I sat down at my desk, pulled up the system logs, and started tracking every change Amber had made in the last 30 days. It wasn't much. A couple calendar edits. One budget tag update. A comment on a proposal I wrote from scratch. That was it. But the optics told a different story, and optics were all Martin cared about. The worst part wasn't even the lie. It was how smooth they made it look. Like it was already decided. Like I was just going to hand it over quietly. I didn't scream. I didn't storm into Martin's office. I just kept building my archive. I copied everything. Project files, email threads, backup diagrams, meeting notes, approval chains. They were stacking the deck against me. Fine. 4 days before everything collapsed, I got a Slack ping from Logan. "Matt, we've got a problem. East Coast logs are wiped." I was at home, trying to convince myself I still had a marriage. Jenna was in the other room, watching a documentary about silent retreats. I replied, Be there in 20. By the time I got to HQ, Logan had already confirmed it. 18 months of logs gone. Client-side sync failure during a routine migration triggered a cascading overwrite. Half our regulatory backups were corrupted. If we didn't recover them, Synergy Tech was looking at federal penalties and multiple lawsuits. I hit the emergency group chat. Drop what you're doing. Everyone meet in server room B now. It was 9:06 p.m. on a Saturday. Logan came straight from his daughter's 5th birthday party. He still had a balloon string tied to his wrist. Priya showed up in heels and a sequin dress. I was halfway through dinner, she said. Table for 2. Sorry, Raj. Marcus brought snacks, didn't say a word. Just dumped trail mix and energy drinks on the desk like we were back in college finals. Amber, she texted, I'm monitoring from home. Let me know if you need me to escalate. Monitoring what exactly? She couldn't read a log file without a walkthrough. But sure, she was involved. We worked for 27 hours straight. No breaks, no sleep. Just keyboards clicking, fans humming, energy drinks piling up. We started with fragment recovery, cross-referenced with old restore points. I wrote a script that scraped partial logs from shadow copies, while Priya rebuilt the database skeleton by hand. By hour 10, we recovered about 60%. By hour 15, we were close to 90. By hour 27, we had full logs, verified, scrubbed, and reintegrated. The company was saved, but no one outside that room knew it was even on fire. We documented every step. I assigned sections, patch notes, timestamps, override triggers, rollbacks. Every change logged and signed. At 1:47 a.m. Monday morning, we submitted the success report. Clean, bulletproof. At 9:06 a.m., I saw the forwarded version in the company-wide update. Amber had attached her name first. Crisis handled swiftly thanks to Amber Taylor's oversight and initiative. No mention of me or my team, just Amber and her leadership. I walked into Martin's office around 11 a.m., expecting at least a nod. Instead, he looked at the screen, smiled, and said, Amber's leadership is really paying off. That's when I knew. This wasn't bad judgment. It wasn't favoritism. It was deliberate. They were writing me out of the story, one paragraph at a time. I walked back to my office, locked the door, and sat at my desk. Then I pulled out the drive, the one I kept taped underneath my desk as a personal redundancy backup. I'd made it years ago, back when we didn't even have a proper backup protocol. That drive had everything. Architecture maps, root access credentials, disaster protocols, rollback versions, deployment histories. It wasn't just data. It was the company's nervous system. I wiped it clean, then rebuilt it. Every config, every key, every code trail. Updated, encrypted, versioned. I burned 3 duplicates, all labeled, all time-stamped. One stayed with me, one went in a safety deposit box. One got mailed to my brother in Omaha. Then I took black duct tape, stuck the primary under my desk, right above my footrest. If they were going to take everything from me, they weren't keeping this. Not without a fight. I didn't say a word to anyone. Not Logan, not Priya, not even Jenna. Especially not Jenna. I just sat there after hours with the lights off, watching the room go dark through the frosted glass walls. Amber passed by once, heels clicking like she owned the damn floor. She didn't even glance inside. Tuesday, 6:45 a.m. I unlocked the conference room, same one I'd used every quarter for the last 8 years. Quarterly ops review, my slides, my deck, my show. Except Amber was already there. She was sitting in my chair with her laptop open, running my slides like they were hers. Calm as hell, coffee in hand, wearing that smug navy blazer she always pulled out when she wanted to look in charge. I froze in the doorway. What are you doing? She barely looked up. Martin asked me to present. It's just a temporary shift. My stomach dropped straight to the floor. I walked around the table and glanced at the screen. She'd added her name to the title slide, deleted mine, changed the footer on every page. But that wasn't the worst part. She had access to files I never shared. Confidential budgets, vendor contracts, internal specs. She was using credentials tied to my clearance level. She wasn't just presenting the work. She had inherited it. I looked down. The clicker was still on the table. I picked it up and stared at it like it might explain what the hell was happening. One by one, the execs came in. No one said good morning. No one asked questions. A few of them wouldn't even look at me. They just sat down, opened their notebooks, and waited for the blood to hit the floor. Diane came in last. She didn't say a word, just sent a text and sat near the end of the table. I saw the preview light up on her screen. To Jenna. It's happening. 7:05 a.m. Sharp, the door slammed open. Martin walked in like a man on a mission. No coffee, no greetings, just fury behind his eyes. He marched to the head of the table and didn't even sit. He slammed his palm down and said, "You have 5 minutes to clear your desk." Just like that. No warning, no reason, no review, just an execution order. I was still holding the damn clicker. Amber shifted in her seat. She looked pale now, like she wasn't expecting it to go down like this. "Any questions?" Martin snapped. I didn't say a word. I looked at him, then Amber, then Diane. I saw it clear as day. They were done pretending. This was their move. They thought I'd flip out, beg, explode, give them a scene to justify it all. Instead, I just nodded once. I placed the clicker on the table, turned, and walked out. Security was waiting by my desk. Same 2 guys I used to bring donuts to during overnight deployments. They looked miserable. One of them whispered, "Sorry, man." I reached under the desk and pulled down the backup drive I had taped there. My photo of Jenna and me from 5 years ago, and a few tech manuals I'd written. Nothing else. I packed it slow, deliberate. Let the silence stretch. Then I heard footsteps. I turned. Logan stood up first, followed by Priya, then Marcus, then everyone else. 19 people total, my whole department. They didn't say anything. They just packed their own stuff and followed me. We walked out of that office like it was a funeral march, right past the exec room where Amber was still frozen in her seat. I caught her eyes as I passed. She looked like she was going to throw up. Good. Jenna was sitting on the couch when I walked in, laptop open, wine glass half full, barefoot like it was just another Tuesday. She didn't look up right away. Finally, she said, "My dad called. He said you had an episode, that you caused a scene and disrupted the board." I dropped the box on the floor by the front door. Did 19 people quitting with me count as part of the episode, or was that not mentioned? She closed the laptop. What the hell happened? I walked over to the kitchen counter, pulled out my phone, opened the screenshot, and slid it to her. Amber's email, the one she accidentally sent me, taking credit for the Morrison rebuild and calling me overwhelmed. Jenna stared at it for a long second. I watched her face pale like the blood just drained out through her feet. "That's not..." She stopped herself. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I did," I said. You shrugged. She didn't argue. She just sat back on the couch like the air had been knocked out of her. "I need time to process this," she said finally. "Take all the time you want," I muttered, walking into the office and shutting the door behind me. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. Marcus. "You see Slack?" he asked. "No, why?" "Check the channel, resignation line." I opened the app. 186 messages, all from employees, all walking out. IT, DevOps, QA, support engineers, even 2 HR managers. The thread read like a damn train leaving the station. Everyone calling it what it was, a hit job, a takedown, a betrayal. I didn't say a word. Just watched the resignations pour in like a faucet someone forgot to turn off. By the next afternoon, I had 12 emails in my inbox from clients. Some I'd never even met directly, saying they heard what happened and wanted to work with me wherever you land. That was the phrase they all kept using, wherever you land. I hadn't landed anywhere yet, but clearly people were watching. Thursday, Henderson called. The Henderson. One of our top 5 clients, big enough that Martin used to name drop them in investor calls. "Matt," the guy said, "we've been with Synergy Tech for 6 years, but let me be clear. If you're leaving, we're leaving." I almost dropped my coffee. I said, "Are you sure?" He laughed. "I don't even know who else to call over there. Amber, Martin, good luck. You're the reason our infrastructure even works." Friday morning, I got the email that changed everything. Subject, "Let's talk." From Carter Davis, Venture Forge Capital. They were the same firm that ghosted Martin 6 months ago during a funding round. They didn't even take the second meeting. Now, Carter wrote, "We've been watching the walkout. Your team's loyalty speaks volumes. Loyalty's something we can't buy, but we can fund it. You want to build something new?" I sat there in my home office, doors still closed, half-empty coffee in my hand, staring at that email. Loyalty. They saw it. Everyone saw it, except the people who were supposed to. I didn't reply to Carter's email right away. I stood up, walked out to the garage, and stared at the empty space like it was some kind of test. Busted drywall, concrete floor, tool rack half full, the smell of motor oil and dust. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I cleared everything. Sawhorses, boxes, storage bins, out to the driveway. Then I rolled in a folding table, dragged out an old office chair, and set up my laptop. No nameplate, no glass doors, just one outlet, a sticky keyboard, and a chip on my shoulder the size of the damn house. By Monday morning, Logan and Priya were there. No invite needed. They showed up with folding chairs and laptops, both of them still wearing company hoodies like war medals. Whiteboard on the wall, Ethernet cable snaked from the laundry room, marker stains on my knuckles by noon. We called it Ironclad Systems, not global anything, not synergy, ironclad, because we weren't letting anyone inside who didn't earn it. Sarah designed the logo that night, bold lettering, no curves, all spine. Marcus registered the domain before I even asked. He texted me the receipt and said, "We're live." By Wednesday, the Morrison twins were on the floor, laptops out, feet up on milk crates, already building the infrastructure map. Two of the smartest devs I'd ever hired, brothers we poached out of a college hackathon, barely legal to drink, but dangerous with a keyboard. Friday, we signed our first 3 clients. All legacy accounts from Synergy Tech, all loyal to us, not the logo. Carter's team wired in $2.4 million that same afternoon. Term sheet signed. He sent a follow-up message. "You've got 7 months of runway. Make it count." We didn't waste a second. Meanwhile, Martin tried to spin the walkout as strategic realignment on LinkedIn. He posted a photo with a coffee mug and a new intern, like that was going to cover a full department walking out mid-quarter. The caption said something about embracing change. It got 4 likes and 1 bot comment. Too late. Amber tried to fix things herself. That was the cherry on top. She accessed the production server for a legacy financial platform. Files she had no clearance to touch. Files I had specifically layered with version locks and audit triggers. She bypassed the scripts using admin-level credentials she stole from a shared test environment, and she broke it. Full corruption of the client database. 6 years of transaction history, gone. No backup, because she overwrote the reference keys before the trigger scripts could block her. One of the remaining execs, a guy I trained, texted me that night. They're calling it a 40-minute hours loss. Amber's gone. Martin's on damage control. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. The next morning, the story hit the trades. Mass resignation rocks mid-sized tech firm. Exodus at Synergy Tech raises investor concerns. Ironclad Systems emerges from the ashes. We didn't ask for attention. We were just trying to build. But the press loved it. The underdog angle, the betrayal, the rebuild. And once the walkout hit Reddit, it blew up. Former interns posted screenshots. Old employees shared exit stories. Even clients chimed in. People wanted to see Martin fall. They wanted to see what we'd build next. And I was ready to show them. She pulled up in her black Lexus, parked halfway into the driveway, like she wasn't planning to stay long. I was in the garage with Logan, finishing a whiteboard flowchart for a new client. Priya was on a call at the folding table. The place looked like a startup and smelled like sweat, coffee, and vengeance. Jenna stepped out holding a bottle of Cabernet in one hand and a manila envelope in the other. She didn't say hi, just walked up, looked around the garage like it offended her, and said, "Can we talk?" Logan gave me a look. I nodded. He grabbed his laptop and stepped inside without a word. She handed me the envelope. "They want to settle." I didn't open it. "Define settle. 900,000, she said. "If you agree to keep quiet." I stared at her for a second. Quiet about what? Getting fired for my own work? Watching your best friend gut my job while you said nothing? Her jaw tightened. "Matt, I'm not interested in silence, and I don't need to buy back my dignity." She looked down at the bottle, then set it on the workbench like it was supposed to mean something. "I brought wine." I didn't touch it. "You have to fix this," she said quietly. "I already did," I said. "We did. You're standing in it." She shook her head, blinking fast. "You don't understand what this is doing to him. My dad hasn't slept in days. Amber's gone. Investors are panicking. The company might fold. Not my company anymore, I said. That was his choice. She looked around again, like the walls might close in. I didn't think it would go this far. I knew Amber was being coached. I didn't know he was going to fire you like that. You knew she was setting me up? She didn't answer. Say it, I said. She crossed her arms. I knew. Okay? I knew she was pushing into your territory, but I figured you'd deal with it. You always do. You let them destroy my name to keep your dinner parties clean. Her voice cracked. I thought you'd bounce back like you always do. I laughed. This is me bouncing back. She reached for the envelope again. I let her take it. I didn't come here to beg, she said. I just thought you deserved a chance to walk away clean. I don't need clean, I said. I just need true. She opened her mouth, then closed it. She looked down at the concrete, then back up at me. You're really done, she said. Yeah, I said. The second you picked silence over me. She nodded once, eyes wet but unbroken. Okay. Then she turned around and walked back to her car. Didn't say goodbye, didn't look back. My phone buzzed in my pocket. 2 missed calls. One from a new client. One from a recruiter I didn't recognize. Emails were stacking up. I didn't even check them. I stood there, watching her drive off, the taillights fading into the street. I wasn't angry, just done. The call came at 2:03 a.m. I was half asleep on the couch in the garage. Laptop open on my chest, inbox pinging non-stop. Margaret's name lit up the screen. Synergy Tech's legal director, still on payroll, still playing the game, at least until that night. I picked up. Didn't expect to hear from you. Her voice was sharp, all business. Martin's cooked. I sat up. Go on. He violated your hostile termination clause. The way they walked you out. No review, no due process, no just cause. Your contract puts damages at over $1.5 million. Nice, I said, but I'm not suing for sport. I'm not calling for sport, she snapped. I'm calling with proof. She paused, then dropped it. I've got a full dossier. Illegal terminations, hush payments, fake audits, FMLA denials, internal fraud. It's all real. It's all time-stamped. And I want in. I didn't answer right away. She kept going. You need legal. I know the system, the execs, the contracts. I've watched them bury people for years, but not you. You walked and the company's bleeding. Let me be your chief legal officer. I ran a hand down my face. You still in that office? She asked. Garage, I said. I'll be there at 9. Click. By the time she showed up that morning, we had bagels on the table, 3 new client demos booked, and a DevOps sprint already running. She walked in wearing black slacks, blazer, hair pulled back, and dropped a flash drive on the workbench. This burns everything, she said. Careful who you send it to. 1 week later, we held the press conference. Tiny rented office, beige walls, folding chairs, 23 of us crammed inside, all in clean shirts, laptops closed. We stood shoulder to shoulder in front of one mic, no stage, no PR agency. Just straight talk, no corporate buzzwords, no apologies. Priya spoke first, then Logan, then me. We told the truth, the setup, the mass walkout, the rebuild, the culture that rewarded loyalty with silence and politics with promotion. Cameras rolled. Local stations picked it up. Reddit found it within the hour. By midnight, the story was trending. They called it the Great Tech Exodus. Clients started lining up the next morning. Not just old ones, new ones. Startups, hospitals, financial services firms. People sick of big-name vendors who couldn't even keep logs straight. And then came the big one. $12 million contract. 3-year deal. Full digital infrastructure build. They wanted us. Not Synergy Tech, not Martin, ironclad. We signed it in the same garage where I got fired on a Tuesday morning and told I had 5 minutes to disappear. The next day, Martin stepped down. Health reasons, the statement said. Right. Amber, gone, deleted from LinkedIn. No goodbye post. No pivot to consulting. Just vanished. I sat back at my workbench, stared at the whiteboard, and let it all sink in. They tried to erase me. But now they were the ones off the map. 6 months in, Ironclad was valued at $60 million. We had 47 employees. None of them were family. All of them were loyal. Logan ran operations like a machine. Priya owned engineering, tighter than I ever did. Sarah rebuilt the entire client interface. Smoother, faster, smarter. The Morrison twins had their own dev pod now, and I had to book time on their calendar like a visitor. Margaret negotiated a deal with a global firm out of Chicago. Full-scale expansion. Offices in Austin, Denver, maybe Toronto. She handed me the final contract and said,